everyone, my name is Putra Navella and welcome to Think Like Einstein Alumni 2020. The Think Like Einstein course is a program designed to help first-time, first-year students develop critical thinking skills necessary to succeed in science-based college majors and careers. Unfortunately, this year, due to COVID-19, we will not be having in-person class presentations. Instead, we will be interviewing our alumni. It is our third year hosting this event, and we are very excited for our guest today. For this interview, I would like to welcome Cinthia Padilla, a first-generation college graduate with a bachelor's in physics and a master's in mechanical engineering from Cal State Fullerton. She is a principal systems survivability engineer 3 at Northrop Grumman in Redondo Beach, California. Current roles include project manager, analyst, and flight test engineer, all in research and development. We will now watch a short video presentation from her company, Northrop Grumman.
At Northrop Grumman, we've always been on the forefront of innovation. When the world called for speed. When the world called for stealth. Intelligence. Endurance. Affordability. Adaptability. And when the world asked for the future. Staying ahead in a constantly evolving world. That's the value of performance. Northrop Grumman.
Well, the visuals were pretty great though, so I was blown away by it already. So as a first-time college graduate, what were some obstacles you encountered, and what advice would you give to students on how to overcome them?
So at the time, I think you just know that you have to go to college, right? Or I did, and the obstacles are just not really knowing how to navigate, how to apply for scholarships, how to who to go to, where to get like free tutoring and things like that, where to go study. Luckily, as a physics major, the department there has a physics club, and I was introduced to that right away. I know that other NSM majors aren't as lucky, and their departments are much bigger, so it's harder to get into those resources. But I found a mentor right away. I found somebody who was about 2 years in more than I was, and his name was Casey Sanchez. I still remember him, and we still talk. And he was the one that helped me navigate. So I found someone right away to help me out. And he was like, these are the scholarships that you apply for, and this is what I've learned. And I've learned to become very resourceful and to get help and ask for help. And so as far as obstacles to, I mean, obviously the big one is like juggling family and right. And a lot of us that are first generation come from very family oriented families, and you have to juggle those events, and school and science majors are always incredibly difficult and require a lot of your time. And then there was a job, but just surrounding myself with people like me helped a lot, in finding mentors everywhere.
That's great. That's a really good advice. Thank you. So how much harder was it to obtain your master's degree relative to the level of difficulty it took to get your bachelor's degree? I
am going to say that getting my master's was a lot easier than getting my bachelor's, like for sure. Physics was incredibly difficult, but it was very rewarding. And I think because it was so difficult, and because I learned to be resourceful and, get my hands on solutions manuals to check my answers, and tutors and all that other stuff, I had already developed the study skills and found the type of studying that worked for me. So and then the topics in general, because I already had the foundation from physics, it made engineering a lot easier for me. Not to say that it was easy in general, but but it was easier.
Yeah, I know. I can relate. Having to take physics. It's definitely not an easy pathway. So how many times along your academic journey did you hit like bumps in the road, or how many, if any, classes have you been discouraged by along the way, and how did you overcome those difficulties you faced?
So the one that, I mean, aside from quantum mechanics, which was just like absolutely intense, was calculus in general. Was I came out of high school, barely having studied, right? And you do your homework and you learn the material. And as soon as I got into Cal State Fullerton, I had to take pre-calc first, and then I took calculus, and it just kicked my it it was rough. And I didn't even know that I was doing as bad as I thought I would. But my, like, the natural sciences department has like this early warning program. And the professor that I had, I think he was like Yosefi, he like reported me and saw me as at risk because I was a science major and I needed to do well in these classes. um, and I was put into like mandatory tutoring, and I had to go see a counselor, and I was like, I'm not even doing that bad. And they ended up I was in denial for a little bit, but they ended up connecting me to a personal tutor for free, in McCarthy Hall, and it was just beyond helpful. But I struggled in general with all of my calc classes, all like 10 of them that I had to take. But I had, I formed a study group and we all suffered through it together. We're all still like really good friends. And, but it was hard for me to, like, when it came to my physics classes and applying that math, it was a lot easier. But just math in general, or at least calc, and not applying it to things is still a challenge.
Yes, definitely relatable as an NSM student. Um, what would you say gave you the motivation to keep going during those tough times, especially those difficult calculus classes?
Honestly, it was a good study group, and just us, and being able to vent and study with each other, and just, our bonds are us still making fun of each other for the most part, but just saying we're going to meet here, we're going to finish this, and then teaching each other always helps, right? Because what the heck was my professor talking about? And watching YouTube videos on how to do the problems together. It's just, if you surround yourself with people that have the same goal, which, I mean, it's not hard to find, right? Everybody there wants to get the same degree, especially if you're in the same major. It just helps, you're just telling your friends, like, get it together because we have to graduate together at this point.
Yes, very true. So what is the best thing you have gained from choosing your major of study, so physics, and how much has it benefited your life?
Um, ooh, that's a good question and kind of rough. So I think, uh, I mean, and everybody says this, but you'd be surprised at how true it is. It's just the critical thinking skills, you having a problem all of the time, because, life is full of them. And just having that problem solving mentality has helped a lot. Even just, like, for example, my husband telling me that something wasn't going to fit in the freezer. And I'm like, no, it has to. So we will figure it out. It has to stay frozen. But the physics was, because it was so difficult, it just almost made me resilient. I mean, I had like puzzles as a kid my whole life, but just the problem solving skills, and then just having like a real like for science and math. And then obviously I'm in the field. I would have never actually thought that I would have ended up in aerospace, but here I am. And I'm applying, I don't although I still apply some of the physics and like thermodynamics and things like that. I'm mostly in leadership type positions at this point, and it's all about just, here's another hurdle. How do we solve this? How do we get to the next step? And it's, just when they teach, what they teach you for word problems is, what are the variables? Where do I need to get, and how do I get there? And I apply that all the time, every day.
So how were you able to distinguish what you really wanted to have as a career to as to what you're actually good at doing?
I was actually just talking to my friend about this. So I'm just gonna tell you guys or tell you, and then people watching the story. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Like, I still don't. It's more of I knew I needed a job, and I liked physics, right, or biology, or whatever natural science you're in, and I would always go to career fairs because I needed a job all the time, and internships, right? And you want to start filling in your resume because experience is always good. And I went to the Society of Women Engineers conference, and I couldn't afford the actual conference, but I coughed up $35 for the career fair. And I would go up to people, and they always tell you to do all your research before, but you don't have time for that. Like, you're already busy, and the websites are so vague anyway. And so I would go up to them and just say, hey, I saw that you had some requisitions online, but they were really vague. Can you tell me about who you're looking for and what you want, like what the job actually is? Because even when you go online and they say mechanical engineer one, you're like, what does a mechanical engineer one do? There's so many things and possibilities. So I ran into this lady, and who was with Northrop Grumman, and she was like, "We make airplanes invisible," and I was like, "What? That sounds cool. I want to do that." And she looked at my resume, and she was like, "Yeah, we do this here, and you seem like a good fit." And then this is where I am. And even at work, right? You're put into a job where I had no idea what the heck I was doing, even if I had the right background, right? Because the application of it is very different and very specific. And because of the area that I work in, there's just no way that anybody's even really allowed to know what we're doing until you are allowed to know what we're doing. Um, so it's just, you learn as you go all the time. And I've been having like an open mentality. And when people see that you do a good job, then they're like, hey, we have this opportunity. Do you want to take it? And I'm a very open and honest person. I like to think anyway. And I'm like, hey, I'm willing to do this, but I've never done it before. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, and I'm going to need you to hold my hand the whole time. And usually they're like, if they already hesitate, then I don't want to do it because I'm not going to know how. And versus, like, for example, we just submitted a proposal, which we lost, for a helicopter, because Northrop Grumman we're not into helicopters. That's a Sikorsky and Raytheon thing, and other companies. But they asked me to lead the proposal, where we're just putting out together how much it's going to cost, who's going to do what, how we're going to do it, and all this other stuff. And I was like, well, I still don't consider myself an airplane person, and am learning all about them every day. So I just told the program manager, I'll help you, but I'm going to ask a lot of questions. And that's kind of just where I've been getting. It's when opportunities present themselves, I take them. And I guess that's what I'm good at. I'll figure it out is my motto. It's like, I don't know how to do it, but I'll figure it out. If it's on my list and I'm on the hook and I'm responsible, I'll figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, like just like going along with the flow.
Yes, exactly. It's been working out for me so far.
So like going through to those like career fairs back then, what are some career options that you found were available for your major?
Um, I can't. I mean, I did an internship for like SRI International. That was the summer research opportunities, and those are typically available for all the natural sciences. And those are great because you get to go to like another university or another like research facility, because those are like the big places. At least that's what I wanted. And or I thought I wanted, and then I just ended up here anyway. Where I knew I didn't want to do the same thing every day, and I wanted to like actually use my brain and apply my career and stuff like that. But honestly, when you go to career fairs, I didn't know, I just knew I liked physics, but I would go to the career fairs or go online and just search like physicist, And then whoever was looking for one, then I knew, oh, I could do this. What does this company do? And then I learned. But I would go to Career Fairs and ask them, like, would you hire a physicist? And it turns out that most of the time they really wanted engineers because they thought physicists were like way too abstract and didn't know how to apply the math or the science. And it's funny now that I'm at work, they love physicists. Like a physicist is seen as like someone that's super smart. Because for the problem solving skills. But when I remember I did another internship with a gas company and they did not like physicists at all. They actually gave me a lot of crap because I wasn't an engineer, even though I was getting my master's in engineering all the time. But anyway, back to your question. Again, it's great now that we have the internet. So just Google that stuff. There is a job for you. Trust me.
Yes, definitely. So I think you touched a little bit on this earlier, but how do you feel your current profession ties with physics? Or do you feel like flight testing is more tied to physics or mechanical engineering?
Um, So like the program manager that I just took over for the flight testing program, he has a very specific degree in like atmospheric science. And the other guy that I'm working with also did weather stuff, which I didn't even know could be a major, like their PhDs in there. And then I'm a mechanical engineer, and then there are some electrical engineers, and there are some chemical engineers, and materials engineers, and there are some physicists, and we have a lot of programmers on the team, and a lot of these people join us out in the field because I need observers and I need some help and I need somebody to put these wires together and I need a mechanical engineer to help me design this set of X things on the plane, and then I need an electrical load to make sure that I'm not applying too much electrical stuff. And then I need like a chemist to make sure things are like doing their right things. And there's a job for everything. Like we hire all kinds of people at Northrop. We're like a massive team of just people that like to learn and think, at least for in my department in research and development.
So specifically, why do you think you chose this career?
Because it sounded cool. Honestly, like that was it. It was somebody just really knew how to sell it, and I went for it, and here I am. And there's a lot of career options. Like that's what I liked. I know that a lot of people like working for small companies because you get exposure to like one thing and you become really good at that thing and you become a specialist. And then what I do like about Northrop is that there's all kinds of positions. You could just become only a program manager. You could just only be an analyst and just be really good and become the expert in that field. And you can get into functional management. You can become a chief engineer where you're managing whole flight programs and designing an airplane from the ground up. Like there's all kinds of jobs and opportunities. And if I don't like one thing, I can bounce to another in the same company while I'm like also networking and building that reputation foundation.
Would you like to expand a little bit more about what your company is about?
Um, can you be more specific? I mean, we do a lot of stuff, right? We're defense company, so I like to think that I work here because we want to be the best and we want to give our soldiers the best so that they can come home. And there's a reason there's not a war here because we're the best. But I've built some really good connections and we have some really good people, and at least just talking to what I've seen from other aerospace companies, um, Northrop Grumman seems to not really want to let go of people if they don't have to. We'll try to find a way to fit them in other places instead of like having massive layoffs. And we also have a space program, right? Like we have the new the James Webb Space Telescope, which is obviously like 10 years behind schedule, but you know, we have like aerospace, aeronautics, we have space systems, and we have defense systems, and we're all over the country, all over the world. So yeah, I mean, I like my company, yes.
Awesome. So just reading about your background, you have a really strong background with a bachelor's in physics and a master's in mechanical engineering. That's very rare for like a woman in STEM. So were there any challenges you faced being a woman entering the mechanical engineering field or doing physics? And if so, how did you overcome those challenges and what kept you going?
It's honestly, from like my perspective, it's hard to see like, oh, as a female, I am the only one that's going through this, right? Because you tend to hang out with people that think like you and that have the same background as you or like the same mentality. But I mean, I wouldn't. Okay, well, actually, yeah, I just remembered. I had a really hard time with my bachelor's. I was with classmates with this guy who was just the worst, like the absolute worst. Where we all just there was an environment where we all just liked making fun of each other, and at some point, one of his jokes was that he was going to rape me, and yeah, it was really bad. And I reported it, and then they were like, well, you guys kind of get along like that. And in retrospect, I should have pushed a lot harder to get him the hell out of there, because then it was just really uncomfortable for another entire year. And it got to the point where I didn't even want to ask questions in class because I felt like he was going to harass me or make fun of me or think I was stupid or whatever. So I ended up just going to office hours a lot more to ask my questions and communicate more through email and do things like that. And um, unfortunately, it was like I did make people aware because they should know what kind of a person he was. And a lot of people knew that. And so they went out of their way to almost to help me. And then at work, you get like occasionally hit on, right? It's just you brush it off or honestly take advantage of that. Um, because if you're gonna think it's nice to look at me, then oh, you should look at me more and give me this other job. No, I'm just kidding. That's really bad. But it's hard to say like what is super specific. Obviously, I at some points felt like people wanted me to fail, or I got a really good grade because my teacher thought that I was attractive, or because I'm flirting with them, or something like that. I mean, I got stuff like that all the time, but hey, I was getting a good grade, and at least I knew that I was working hard, and that's all that mattered. And I just surrounded myself with people that actually wanted me to succeed.
Oh, that's awesome. Just keep pushing through. um, so what does a typical day for you look like in your job or in your life in general?
Like right now, or I'm incredibly busy right now, like incredibly busy. I manage two different programs. So I have internal research and development project that's being funded by the company. And then I have a contract, a CRAD, or contractual research and development, where somebody's paying us to do that. And that's my flight test program. And then I'm a deputy program manager for another program. So a lot of my day, as opposed to when I first started now, is answering emails and somebody's like, I can't get this done. And I'm like, great, who do we talk to? It's just like overcoming hurdles and hurdles and hurdles. And today is technically like our off Friday. So benefit of working in aerospace is the 980 schedule is really popular. So you work 9 hours a day every day and you get every other Friday off, which is really nice. And now that I'm just doing too much, honestly, and I'm working on offloading and training people, but that also takes extra work. Putting documentation together so that I can remind myself when I touch on stuff a year later. Um, and then all Fridays are when I get my real work done, is what I like to say, is when I go in and do my technical work and put my presentations together. I'm not like in calls and meetings and stuff like that, but it's a lot of interacting with people and connecting people and things like that. That's basically the leadership position, or the type of leader I like being. Like I like enabling people to do their jobs. If I can't do it, I will find somebody that can do it, and we will do it.
What would you say is the most exciting part of your job as a mechanical engineer?
I like seeing my stuff that I worked on like being built. Um, the first step and the cheapest step is just thinking of it and then designing it. And then, if at all possible, then you go through the modeling of it first. And then the model looks good. So then you get someone to like 3D print it, or you find someone to build it. And then you have to figure that out, right? Like, who can build this for me? We can't build this in the company. Okay, how do I get a subcontract out so somebody can do this for me without telling them what it's really for? Because they can't really know that kind of stuff, and then putting it together and testing it. And obviously, it never works the first time ever. And you figure it out. And then it, like, when you see that something that you've been working towards, like, on or working or flying, like, that's super rewarding to me.
Have you ever had any second thoughts about your career choice?
Um, I I want to say that at some point this is like all I know, and if I were like to choose something else, I don't know. There are for sure other opportunities out there, right? Especially as you're like as I'm developing my skills, especially in leadership, right? Like there are tons and tons of positions open for program managers, and but I do like what I do. Um, it's challenging, it's rewarding. I work with fun people, um, and I don't think I've had second thoughts. I mean, obviously I want to say that I want to run a dog rescue, but I could just do that on the side at some point.
Oh, that's great. Um, so overall, how do you think CSUF prepared you for your career? And then I know you touched a little bit on this earlier, but what opportunities did you look for to get a job, specifically at the company you're in right now?
So Cal State Fullerton is actually very resourceful. I think that because we're not a massive university, like you get to talk to real people, and your professors are real people that want you to succeed. But I was part of, like, I was in the McNair Scholars, and they were like grad school, grad school, grad school. And then I couldn't really get into anywhere else. And Cal State Fullerton was like, you can come back. And I was like, great, okay, because you're cheaper anyway. And we're not like a big school. We don't have a big name under us. But hey, I'm sitting next to people that went to MIT and USC and UCLA and all the big schools, schools I'd never even heard of, right? Because I grew up in Paramount, right next to Long Beach, and my options were Cal State Long Beach or Cal State Fullerton. And I didn't even think about USC or UCLA because I had to drive and I had to write the essay. I was lazy. Um, but it because of all the opportunities and people that really wanted to help me, I was able to build my resume. Like my professors went out of their way to help me write like really good letters of recommendation, because they weren't massive classes. They would get to know me, and they would write some letters with some real substance instead of just like Cinthia Padilla is a good student. Okay, and then what? Um, so I was able to really fill up my resume and get a lot of backup, um, but I did have to go out and actively go to more career fairs and all of that stuff. But you have to be proactive, like you have to take that step. And I know you, like, as a student, you're already exhausted all the time. You're like, I don't have it. It isn't worth it, because then you get to find out about opportunities, you get to find out who you're kind of in competition with, and even just meeting other people, and they're like, well, I'm applying to this because they give free food all the time. And I'm like, well, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, now I know to apply for that too. The heck? And you get to learn about more stuff, meeting new people. And it is exhausting, but shout out to Red Bull for getting me through grad school. But um, like going to Cal State Fullerton honestly was like a great choice, and I wouldn't change that.
Do you ever miss being an undergrad student, or is there anything you miss from about CSUF or any experiences you wish to like relive as an undergrad student?
I miss, I must have, I think I must have thought of it, like the good stuff. You remember the good stuff. Because it's like my job is almost like I'm still in school. Like I'm still learning something. I'm still solving problems, except for now there's like millions of dollars at stake. So there's like a scooch more pressure. But I have more backup. But I just love being in the physics club and all of us like working collectively together. Like my group of friends, we were like, we had so much fun. It was like we made studying fun through like talking crap about each other. Um, but I mean, yeah, McCarthy Hall. Did they ever fix that elevator in there?
No, they did not. It's still we still get stuck. Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that
not
building is
going
so
well.
janky, but the sixth floor was my life. And then I
Yeah.
went for this program called STEM Squared, and I was like really good about getting jobs that came with rooms where I would study and I would like have keys. So I would always have somewhere to study because I could never study at home with my mom watching her novelas like really loud and just being super distracting. And, you know, I still can't really work from home. But yeah, I mean, like just being in school was fun, but like, and I like, you know, with this event before Zoom, just being on campus, and I'm like, damn, this, like, it just, I don't know. It's nostalgic, but I'm obviously just remembering the good stuff, not like all the times I was crying, studying, or having a hard time, couldn't solve a problem or whatever. But it was a great experience. It's a good campus.
Yeah. Definitely is a lot of resources. You would have loved the library now. They updated a bunch of the study rooms, so it's very high tech. Yeah. um,
I know I
so
saw that they updated the student union too.
yes, right when I entered, it looks so different now.
Nice. Yeah, when I was getting in, we were getting new parking structures, which was really nice. Because I used to have to get in like around 6, and then I would nap there, nap in my car, and then I would go to class. But then I would hate people with the really sensitive alarms. If that's you, don't do it. Because you can't even tell when a car is driving by or your car is actually getting stolen. Let me nap.
Yeah, that's such a common thing for commuters to nap in their cars before they go to classes. Yeah, so do you have any last words of advice for our students or any last comments that you would want to make?
Yeah, you can do it. I did it. I did it. And even now, I look at my resume and I'm like, that's me. I did that. But you, like, you'd be surprised at how much you can accomplish. And before you know it, like, you're going to be in this job here at Northrop. And I'm still learning all the time. You can do it. Find somebody that really wants to help you. Spend more time on campus. Um, I I think that that really helped me a lot, just being in the environment and like using, you can't use the resources there. You won't know if you just go to class and then you go home and you go study there. And surround yourself with people from your majors and talk to your like ask, you'd be surprised